Yeah, better light there. Are you serious? Are you serious? Everybody grab a cup of coffee, even if it's a small cup. And mm, but good coffee. Anyway, getting ready to get on the road heading toward Branson, Missouri. But before grabbed our stuff and ran out to the car, um, there is a serious situation developing in Ukraine. Chernobyl again. We're back to Chernobyl. We knew that they fired on Chernobyl. We knew there was fires. We knew there was explosions. But the pumping systems were still intact, keeping those spent rods from melting down. Well, Russia won't stop. They keep firing, they keep bombing, they keep attacking, and now the power is out. The power for that entire region is out. That means the pumps are no longer working. The water that's in there that keeps those spent nuclear rods at the reactors only have 48 hours. In 48 hours, if they don't get the pumps going again, these reactors, the spent rods, are going to start melting down big time. So this is a huge, huge problem that needs. Who's going to go in there and fix it? Who can fix it? Is there anybody left? Is the United States going to fly a special team in there? Can they? Will Russia let them? Let's talk about this here in just a second. But first, let me put a shout out right now. NobleGoldInvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. You know, if you take a look at all the crazy stuff going on in the world, you have to have a realization. Did you see the price of gas jumped another 8 cents this morning? So now we're at $4.25 a gallon national average across America. That's the cheap stuff, and only going higher. As I predict, it will go over $5 a gallon by April 1st. That'll be the cheap stuff, national average across the country. It'll hit $7 a gallon in California. There's no stopping it because we're totally dependent upon foreign oil when we had our own abilities. So if you think about that and the stock market, even though it's having a better day today, you take a look at the insecurity of the wheat and the barley and the realization, you might want to diversify. Take that 401k and roll it into some gold or silver IRA. Okay, go to noblegoldinvestment.com. Pick up the phone and call Colin Plume at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Tell Colin Plume that Pastor Paul Begley sent you there and you're looking at your retirement funds. He'll give you some great advice. Okay, now, having said that, let me just do this real quick. I've got a couple different articles here. One, I'm looking at right here. War in Ukraine. Chernobyl site loses power after days of Russian combat. This is not a good situation at all. And Ukrainians are told to shelter from possible Russian missile attacks now on the capital of Kiev. This was just 8 minutes ago, as power has been cut off now to Chernobyl. All right, so here we go. He is ratcheting up the misery. He's got other cities that absolutely have no. One city, Matovo, has had no water, no electricity, no heat for the last 6 days. A city of 400,000 people with no running water nowhere and no electricity and no heat and no way out of the city. They're completely surrounded. This is a human crisis, a disaster. War in Ukraine. So Russian forces have violated today's temporary ceasefire again. They're in Mariupol. That's the city, Mariupol. According to Deputy Mayor, who said life in the besieged city is like living in medieval times. No electricity, no water, no sewage lines. They've all been cut off to the city. There's nowhere to get water to drink. Mariupol's deputy mayor said that 1,200 civilians have been killed in his city in the past 2 weeks, but now it's a humanitarian crisis. Ukraine's nuclear agency said that it lost power and generators only have enough fuel for 48 hours. And after that, there'll be no way to cool the pumps. So, but by the way, Vice President Kamala Harris is traveling to Eastern Europe, but she's going there one day after the Pentagon rejected Poland's offer to share the fighter jets with Ukraine. No, they didn't reject it. Poland said, we're not going to hand the fighter jets to Ukraine. Are you crazy? Putin will go right after us again. We're not even part of, Russia has invaded Poland many times. So what Poland is saying, here, Ukraine can have these fighter jets, and you give it to them, United States. You give it to them. You're the superpower. You're the leader. Here's the jets. And the United States Pentagon, or the Biden administration, backs down. There's no leadership right now in Washington. Zero. I don't know what Harris is going to do. She's going to show up with hat in hand. You talk about getting set up for failure again. The vice president's going to show up there, and now it's like, oh, I'm here, but guess what? We're not going to deliver the planes. And so, meanwhile, the Russians continue to take major ground in Ukraine. It is a disaster, folks. But I have another report here. Give me 1 second here. There's more information on this. And I've got to, give me 1 second to hit that. Okay. And that is this. Of course, we only have 48 hours left of fuel for the pumps. 3 of those hours already gone, so we're down to 45 hours now. Ukraine says that the Chernobyl nuclear site has lost all power. And then now the Chernobyl nuclear site has lost all power and only had 48 hours left of fuel on the backup generators to keep the pumps cool. There's 20,000 spent fuel rods that are in there, folks. They put out heat, and over time they will melt down. If the top of the fuel rods become exposed, that would be potential local radiation. So when the water cools, these things are going to heat up. When they heat up, they're going to evaporate the water that the pools that they're in. When that begins to happen, then they will start melting down. Radiation will be released out, and it will become a disaster. We are having Chernobyl all over again if something isn't done quickly. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency said that the pool was sufficiently large enough to keep the fuel safe, even without electrical power, for a little bit, but not long, because they will heat up when the water that's in there is no longer cooled. The radiation will begin to heat the water, and of course, then it will evaporate the water, which will then accelerate the melting down process of these spent nuclear fuel rods. 20,000 of them. Do you understand? This is a disaster of biblical proportion. This is Chernobyl, and I can't forget, this is wormwood. And I'm gonna say something. I have to give credit where credit is due. Dr. Irvin Baxter, which I'm actually going to have dinner with his son-in-law next week when I'm in Dallas. Dr. Irvin Baxter said, when looking at wormwood in the Bible, he said, Paul, I'm going to say something that nobody else says. But he says, I think Chernobyl is wormwood. And I said, well, that happened 30 years ago, Dr. Baxter. It didn't melt down. It was a disaster for that area. Yeah, it was the worst nuclear disaster in the history of the world. Yes. But I think that the wormwood effects coming from a deep impact into the sea, and it's kind of this mountain and all that. He said, I hear you. And he said, and I think that event, that obviously that's prophecy. And he said, I think that event will happen. Absolutely, said. And it does bring a wormwood. It does turn the water bitter everywhere. But I'm telling you, Chernobyl is the precursor to it. And I said, well, we've already had our Chernobyl moment. He said, you'll have another one. Now, I don't think he meant exactly that Chernobyl itself would be another Chernobyl moment. But because of the nuclear power that's in the world, he said, you will have another Chernobyl moment. Is it possible that Dr. Irvin Baxter, God was revealing to him that we're actually going to have another Chernobyl moment at Chernobyl? I pray to God not. But I just find it interesting. Now, he did believe that there would be a wormwood event that take place from an asteroid or comet, even Planet X. We talked about Planet X. He wasn't sure what Planet X was really, but he did say that God is going to rock this earth with some deep impacts. So this is very, very, he was a very wise man, and he didn't care about going against the grain. Like, he just didn't follow the hermeneutics of Revelation just because everybody else did. He prayed. He was a very powerful praying man and looked for deep insight. And some of which he taught me. I embraced. Some of it I still didn't. I think, well, maybe, because I've also was trained under Dr. Lester Sumrall and studied Dr. Jack Van Impe for many years, and I've always watched Perry Stone and these guys, and so, and God has spoke to me as well. So, having said all that, this is very interesting that this is happening. And what I'm saying is, we people better really realize something, that this situation in Ukraine is a ticking time bomb of biblical proportion. When is the next Apocalypse seminar? Friday. You can get your ticket Friday. It's called The Climate Crisis. And it is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Steve Quayle is incredible with weather wars, the weather wars and modifications. You definitely want to hear what he has to say about it. But also updates from Marshall Masters and Gil Broussard on climate, on the effects of Planet X and the latest info on that. And then also Mike from Around the World, incredible information. Heidi, what did you say Mike from Around the World is doing in this? Your little secret wall. The secret wall, the secret hidden in Tibet. Yeah, in the middle of the mountains. In the middle of the mountains of Tibet. He reveals this, and also he explained about the climate, something else, and I don't remember how you had that worded so well. But
yes, and Marshall Masters has a free ebook, actually, that he's offering as well.
So a free ebook from Marshall Masters as well. So, and Gil Broussard, latest updates
on Planet X.
Yeah, this is a great.
Where now that it's March, he gives you an update on where Planet X is at and all of these things. You don't want to miss this.
Don't want to miss this, guys. So when is it? It's Friday at 6:00. You have 48 hours. I don't know which is going to happen first: Chernobyl and a climate crisis meltdown, or the webinar. But it starts at 6:00 on Friday. So I got to go. I got to get some things going here. Obviously, we need to get right with God and give our lives back to God and pray. I'll be right back in just 1 second. So set still.
Have you looked around? Have you heard the sound of mama's crying? Or do you turn away when you see the face of the innocent dying? In these darkest days, are you not afraid that it's too late? You gotta get down on your knees, believe, fold your hands and beg and plead. You gotta keep praying. You gotta cry rain, tears of pain, pound the floor and scream his name, 'cause we're still worth saving. Can't go on like this and live like this. We can't love like this. Give this world back to God. Have you lost your love? Feel like giving up? Has your heart been broken? hoping. You can make a wish, you can knock on wood, oh, it won't do you no good. You gotta get down on your knees, believe, fold your hands and beg and plead. You gotta keep on praying. You gotta cry, rain, tears of pain, pound the floor and scream his name, 'cause we're still worth saving. We can't go on like this and live like this. We can't love like this. Give this world back to God. You gotta get down on your knees, believe, fold your hands and beg and plead, and keep on praying. You gotta cry, rain, tears of pain, pound the floor and scream his name, 'cause we're still worth saving. Can't go on like this and live like this. We can't love like this. You can hope the best, make a wish. The only answer is give this world back to God. Oh, give it back.
We're running out of time, folks. Jesus is coming soon. We gotta stay on it. Let's stay focused. You gotta be ready when he comes. Demons are loose too. All right, guys, we're going to hit the road right now, headed to Branson, Missouri, here from Little Rock, and pray for us as we travel. We're going to be driving across the country, and they say there's some weather out there too. We don't need that. What? Weather? So anyway, pray for us that we stay safe and that we make it there great. And if you're going to join us at the Jim Bakker, be a part of the live audience, you can. That's going to be Thursday morning. I think the doors open at 9 o'clock there. I'm not sure about that, but I think they open at 9 o'clock and they close at like 11 or something. The taping close at 10:30. So the doors open at 9 and close at 10:30. Okay, so if you want to be a part of that studio audience, Thursday morning, I'm taping 2 shows with Jim Bakker. Doors open at 9 a.m. Central Time and close at, Heidi thinks, around 10:30. So get there early and be a part of the studio audience. We would love for you to be in the audience with us. It'd be a lot of fun, okay? Heidi's going to send an email later once we get situated, probably later this afternoon, telling you the exact times, but I'm just giving you a heads up. You want to be there early, and she'll give you the exact, she'll send an email out. So hopefully we'll get to see some of you like last time show up. That really is exciting. And then Heidi and I want to talk to you guys as well. So it'd be great. All right. Love all of you. Are you serious? We're in the end times.